What's up, my friends? I want to tell you guys a quick story about my fellow Navy brothers, the Navy SEALs. And it's about adversity. It's about adversity and it's about opportunity, right? It's about how struggle defines us and actually creates opportunity from the adversity we're experiencing. So, a lot of you guys might be familiar with B.U.D.S training, basic underwater demolition specialist training. It's basically the boot camp essentially that SEALs have to go through in order to become Navy SEALs. And one part of this training is what they call drown proofing. Now, if you haven't seen this or heard about it before, go watch it on YouTube. It's kind of crazy. There's tons of videos about it. But essentially, it is a mind exercise. Now, it's a physical exercise, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot more of a mind exercise. And what they're trying to do with these guys is they're trying to kind of break them mentally and reset what they think is possible, right? They're trying to break them down, put them in an experience which is maybe the most adverse experience they've ever felt, and see how they react, get them to reset, recalibrate how they react under this extreme pressure, and get them to think through it so that they can recalibrate how they react when they're getting shot at or bombs are going off or in extreme conditions outside of a pool. By the way, this happens inside a pool, right? When they're not in a pool and they're in actual war and they're in combat and there's, rounds going over their head and there's grenades going off and there's RPGs flying by them and they're in actual combat, it's not as crazy and they can start to breathe, right? They can think, they can focus. And you'll hear me say more often than not, where focus goes, energy flows. So what happens in this evolution? What happens is they tie their hands behind their back, literally tie their hands behind their back, tie their feet together, and they drop them in the deep end of the pool. Now, don't quote me on this. I think the pool is either 12 or 14 feet deep. They drop them in the deep end of the pool and they time the evolution. They have to stay in the deep end of the pool for so long. And so a couple things happen, right? What happens when you are subjected to this type of adversity? Well, your fight or flight will kick in, right? You go into shock. It's like, man, what's going to happen? Well, if we freak out, we start to lose our bearings. We start to go into, freak out mode. Well, it's normal that we could inhale some water, that we could drown. In fact, many of these guys over the course of years have drowned. They've had to be pulled out of the pool and pumped and, throw up water and resuscitated and, and they've had to be recovered from the pool. It's scary. It's terrifying. It's terrifying. But what happens to the guys that survive? What happens to the ones that they pass, that they make it through? Well, they focus. They focus on breathing. They focus on their positioning in the water. They focus on bobbing up and down, going to the bottom of the pool, bouncing off the bottom, going to the top, getting a breath, slowly letting it back out, going to the bottom, doing it again, and consistently doing this over the full evolution of however long they're in the water. And I don't know how long it is, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, however long it is. They're consistently doing this, and they're creating a rhythm and a routine. And they're getting, ultimately, as crazy as this sounds, they're getting comfortable being uncomfortable, right? They're getting in a tough situation and they're figuring it out. So how does this relate to you and I? Well, I'm full vulnerability, guys. This last few years has been super freaking tough for us in business, okay? And in life. And so in sharing with you the adversity that we've been dealing with, I will tell you, it has created some of the greatest outcomes. But not just because it was tough, not just because we were in the deep end, because it forced us to find ways to survive. It forced us to not only have tough conversations, but embrace the consistency of tough conversations. Embrace the suck and the fear. Embrace okay, I'm going to be in the deep end for a little bit, so I better figure this shit out. Right? Embrace this is only an evolution and it will only last for so long. Right? Embrace when I get through this, there will be a reward on the other side. And so why do I share this with you? It is because, folks, if you find yourself sometimes, by the way, all of this life is cyclical, right? We go through seasons. Sometimes it's going to be really tough. Sometimes it's going to be really easy. But what I find more often than not with clients is either they come to me and they are bored, right? Because things are so easy, or they're in the suck and they're like, oh, I can't figure out how to get out. And what I want to say to you is that during those two phases, it's okay. It's okay. The important thing is to have a realization that you're in that phase. And so when we're in the bored comfort phase, most of us are not going to seek pain. But I'm here to tell you that maybe we should. Maybe we should jump into the deep end every once in a while and seek some pain. Because that adversity that we create for ourselves is going to force us to go out and meet the right people. It's going to force us to go out and have some tough conversation. It's going to force us to grow and get better physically, stronger mentally, talk to the right people, meet the right partners, create the right outcomes. Because when we're comfortable, folks, it might be the most dangerous place we can be, because we're not growing, we're not seeking, we're not changing, we're not getting any better. And I don't know about you, but my biggest fear is waking up 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and being in the exact same place. And when we're in, by the way, the deep end, it sucks. Let's be honest, it sucks, right? There's nothing fun about it. Nobody wants to be drown proofing. Nobody wants to be in the deep end with their hands tied behind their back. Nobody wants that while it's happening. But man, we all want the glory. We all want to graduate. We all want the next evolution. We all want the next challenge. We all want to feel good about ourselves. We all want to be proud about our accomplishments. But guess what? We don't have accomplishments if we don't go through the suck, if we don't have the challenge, if we don't put ourselves through the adversity, whether or not it is voluntary or involuntary, right? Whether or not we choose the suck, like these guys at B.U.D.S, right? These guys, by the way, they all volunteered, believe it or not. Crazy, right? They all volunteered to go get in that pool because they want the reward at the end of the tunnel. They want to pin that trident on their chest and be called Navy SEALs. And by the way, one more thing to add, and they'll all tell you this, B.U.D.S isn't even it's a practice for what they deal with in real life. It's a taste of what they're going to get when they get out to combat, when they're really getting shot at, when they're really almost drowning in the ocean, when they're carrying 200 pounds of equipment and they're swimming in the dark and the waves are crashing in their face and they can't really breathe and their stuff gets all tied up and they're being shot at. They pray for the day they were back in the drown-proofing pool with their hands tied up in the broad daylight and the air was right above them and they had instructors to pull them out of the pool, right? Just like I'm positive when you're in the suck and you're in the adversity, There are times when you look back and you say, 5 years, I pray for the problems I had 5 years ago. But guess what? 5 years from now, you're going to be thinking the same thing. Pray for the adversity I'm dealing with today. So all of these problems, folks, they're problems of perspective. And so we should be seeking this adversity, as tough as it is to go through. As tough as it is, it's making us all better day by day. I hope you guys found this valuable. If you're looking to break free, if you're looking to have a next level accomplishment, if you're looking to either get uncomfortable or find your way into more adverse situations or challenges, or level up, or find yourself in a new environment, surround yourself with the right people. Send me a message. I'd love to help you. Talk soon.